influence on how the story is written or the code is written. It's also important here to talk about what may be out of scope and what is in scope. I've found that behavior-driven development is really helpful when talking about this, especially with what scenarios are we actually going to care about and what scenarios aren't we going to care about. So I mentioned risk. This is what we do. There are a few different types of risk. I see technical risks in the code, and then also other risks that we have to consider. So technical risks would be, can someone break into this? Does it really slow down our processes? Or how does this interact with other systems? Is this going to break everything else? We've all been there. We've all had that experience. But then we also have to consider other risks. Can this possibly cause a big financial loss for our company? Can this cause a damage to our reputation? And can this expose us to legal risk? So accessibility comes under here, any kind of, what is the word? Regulated, any kind of regulated industry comes under the legal, and we have to consider those things. The next one is planning. In planning, the team is ready to bring stuff in to be worked on. We've got a pretty good idea of what needs to happen at this phase, but there are two critical questions that we need to ask. Can this be broken down further? Can we code things in small chunks and test in small chunks? We all feel more comfortable when we're testing very small changes and when we're coding very small changes. The larger a thing is, the riskier it is to test and to code. So then we get into the coding itself, where we care about unit tests. So coding, you can also call it development. We can get into semantics if you want. But the actual hands-writing code is something that I don't have a lot of experience in, and I don't want to be a nag. So what I ask is, what unit tests are you writing? What are they actually testing? And can you make my job easier? Can you make this code more testable? These are important questions to ask at this point, and developers will be happier when they find the bugs themselves. The company will be happier because it's just cheaper in time and budget. Testing. We ask two main questions when we're doing our testing. Does this do what we expect? Can it do what we don't expect? This is where our creativity comes in. This is what companies think we only do, and this is also one of the hardest things to train. It's not magic though. There are, like Dr. Andy Brown was talking about, there are checklists, there are methods, there are things that you can do to organize your testing, but these are the two main questions that we're asking. It doesn't end there though. We ask questions after we release the code. So, did our users do something unexpected? Did this actually solve the problem? Did it cause more problems? And can we improve it? So these questions we can figure out through watching user sessions if we have those things, looking at logs, and watching review sites. So if we have an app, watching Google Play or the App Store on iOS, we can get feedback in a lot of different ways, and it helps inform the answers to those questions. Okay, so we have an exercise, and I am ahead of time, and I am not going to freak out about this. So we have this loyalty program that we are redesigning. You can see the existing program on the left and the new program on the right. This is a made-up scenario, and we'll see how this works. So we're going to talk about this like we're in discovery, feature mapping, story mapping, whatever you want. So this is interactive. Here's a cheat sheet of the questions. Okay, go. Any questions? I'm the product owner, just by the way. You are all team members, whether you want to consider yourself a tester, a developer, a product owner, whatever. There are questions that need to be asked. What do you want to know first? Yes?
How are we defining qualifying purchases against how it used to work where 5% it applies to all. We need something to identify what is qualifying for the 10.
We want that to be flexible, and we want it to be determined by marketing. So we want them to be able to change that at will. Yes?
On average, how much does a customer spend each year?
So the thing is, most customers will buy our loyalty program if their savings are larger, if they can get the discount that's larger than the purchase. So often they end up making one large purchase and then never coming back. So they'll spend $1,000 with us one time and not come back. We see this very little with small purchases. Yes?
We need to come up with documentation to communicate this with our clients.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a rep? Who's responsible for that? Do we have something rep? Has this been presented to our clients? Is there a stakeholder? Like, are they aware that this is coming? How are we going to be communicating this to them?
Marketing is driving this, and they think that this is the best thing. Yes?
What's the purpose of the change? We're trying to get more customers to buy the program, or like, what's the purpose?
We're trying to get repeat customers. What we're finding is that someone will come in once and then never come back. And we really want to drive that repeat revenue.
So how are we going to collect data on repeat customers?
We have their account information, and we can track how many purchases they make in a year. Yes?
Have we solicited any feedback on how people feel about the increased cost of the program?
No. We believe that because you can have more than one shipping address, that this would be attractive to families who are spread apart, so that parents could share it with their kids instead of just doing the 2 address changes.
Is
Yes.
this going to affect only new clients, and are the old clients going to be grandfathered into the existing program?
We want to migrate all of our existing users into the new program. Yes.
Is it defined by calendar year or your purchase date? What's the year?
We go with renewal date, the purchase date. Yeah.
What do you do when it fails?
Cry.
Okay.
Yes.
Will they be able to make a purchase and then add the rewards and get credit for that purchase?
No, it's only for future purchases. Yes.
What if the family members have their own account now, but they want to merge their account with their family going forward?
We haven't thought about that. Do you have ideas? Okay, merge feature. Good, good, good. Austin? Sorry, putting you on the spot. Okay. Yes.
How are you defining whether or not they are similar customers or the same customer with a different address? Or they can have multiple addresses? What kind of fields or data points would you be looking at to say that this is the same customer? And could they be in the system more than once already?
Yes.
That's a good question. What I, as the product owner, would like to do is probably compare email addresses, mailing addresses, and phone numbers. And if there are any matchups there, then I don't know, maybe we need to reach out to the customers.
And not be audited?
The merge, no, it's going to be human inspection, I think, unless we're very clever about this. Pass.
Can we cancel? And how do we handle cancellations?
No cancellations. Once you buy, you're in for a year.
Well, we live in Karen world, so how can we live?
I go Karen on them.
No offense, ladies.
That does seem like a reputational risk right there. Not having cancellation. Oh, what?
So this new solution is increasing their cost by what, $60 a year. What's the value add? What are they getting for that additional $60 a year?
So one thing is that 1 point for every purchase above $50 had no upper limit. where the new program will give roughly the same, a larger amount, but with a dollar amount on it. So instead of qualifying purchases, it's amount of total purchases. And then the qualifying purchases, the 10% off, we anticipate that that will get people in the door, and also being able to share accounts across multiple addresses. Yes?
I don't know if this was already asked or not, but, so people who already have an existing program, and you have a date for the new program, but people are already in their year for the other program, are you going to be charging them the difference? Are they going to go throughout their year, and then at the lapse of that year, do they then go into the new program? How is that? Was that already asked or?
That has not been asked. Marketing would like us to make this as simple as possible for our customers. What simple looks like is up to us.
Right. Doesn't seem very simple.
No, it doesn't.
If our goal is to get more recurring customers, have we considered also adding a monthly recurring charge instead of doing it by year?
No. Are you getting, so that does direct to the question of what is an alternate solution.
So like $10 a month, so they end up paying more per year.
Yeah.
That's a really good solution. I can run that by marketing. Okay, maybe take one more question and move on to the next slide. Yes.
So I was just gonna ask you, it seems like you have to be a mathematician to notice that you're gonna save money, or maybe you're not. Are we gonna make it, that doesn't seem very simple for a user. Are we gonna put like a calculation that they can plug in if you're gonna spend this much, or you can save this much?
So marketing will deal with a lot of that, but one thing that I want to see is right now on our website we don't do the discounts on each page. You only see the discount option on your cart when you check out. So one thing that I want to see is discounts on every page to say, if you join our loyalty program, you can get this much off. Okay, we're going to move on to the next slide. So now we are in refinement. And these are the proposed stories. So being able to identify qualifying purchases easily and flexibly, to let marketing basically change their mind whenever. Show discounted prices on product pages rather than just cart. So this would be either the 10% or the 5%. Update the address service to allow multiple addresses to be shipped to. Convert the existing program members to new members, or to the new program, and create a personalization service for marketing.
I'm sorry.
So this one, our scope has creeped, just FYI. Marketing decided that they want to send emails to our customers about qualifying purchases that buy now and you can save 10%. So we need to create a personalization service. So the questions here, let's do this again. And yes.
It sounds like marketing is your PO. And so what is communication to me with as far as the car company, we don't have a lot of collaboration with marketing on QA level anyway. So like being able to collaborate with not the PO, but then a whole different department, how does that work?
Marketing has grand ideas, and this is a problem that they've been wanting to solve for a while. So they aren't stakeholders on everything, but this one is a passion project of theirs.
So are they like keenly involved in the refinement process, in the development process?
They're watching the end result. I go back to them every time. Yes.
Should we do an A/B test where some people are still paying 40 and some are paying 100 and see which one is better?
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea. We can do the A/B test. Yep.
Can we reprioritize and put update the address service first and get rid of the last one?
Yeah. We can definitely update the address service. It's also really old code,
But
so that's going to be tricky. But
if
yes.
you don't update that, then the entire program's broken.
Yes. This is not a prioritized list, but yes, we can make the priority that update the address service. What else? Austin?
Is there any flexibility with the two addresses, we like straight time, like somebody chooses one time or something, and we change it?
So this time, there won't be any restrictions on number of address changes, but you will be able to have two primary addresses. Not that that makes them primary. Sorry. Yes.
So it seems like it's an agile environment, scrum environment, you've got stories there, and these stories are broken down, they almost seem to be dependent on the story.
I agree. Some of them, yeah. Which ones are you thinking about?
Like the address service, how much is involved in that? When you're gonna set up your environment, do you already have an existing one, or you can be updating it, or you can be creating something brand new?
So with the address service, the backend, the database and backend need to be updated to set more than one. The API needs to be able to set flags, and the UI needs to be updated.
So there's 3 things that cool in that one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And again, to that point, just the address service, do we accept addresses of PO boxes, do we accept APO, do we accept out of country, Alaska, Hawaii? What kinds of addresses do we accept?
We are currently accepting PO boxes and American addresses. We do ship to Alaska and Hawaii. We do not ship to military. Do you see risk here? Do I need to go back to the risk slide? Yes.
I absolutely, I agree also on, there's also lots of risks. How do we identify fraud? Is there fraud services going to be identified as part of the address service? That would be another risk area that we have to look at. How do we identify the difference between the billing address and the shipping address? How do we know that that's coming from a fraudulent address?
So we don't currently we don't currently make people re-enter their credit card when they enter a new shipping address, because the shipping address can only change a couple of times. So that is probably something that we need to implement, fraud detection. Yes?
There seems to be a decent amount of risk in the converting existing members to the new program, both in terms of technical challenges as well as the Karen effect.
Yes. Yeah. So how do people handle that? Do we want to do this at the end of the year? Do we want to allow cancellation? Do we want to go to monthly? Marketing is okay with the idea of going to monthly if we present it well enough. Okay, I'm gonna go to Gwen.
So one of the things that stands out to me is the risk associated with supporting both your existing 5%, like existing program versus the new program, and how that's reflected in the UI, and how that's reflected in the experience, and whether you're going to create a path for people on the old program to, because if you're showing discounts on that page, that's conditional, right?
Yes.
And so how are we going to handle that, and what does that look like from an old program standpoint?
Yep, that is an excellent question of risk. We're trying to make the discounts, if we do the A/B test, we're trying to make the discounts flexible enough to be put in through a system that doesn't require code. Or we're trying to put in the infrastructure to show it on the front end. Does that make sense?
So it's going to be a manual?
Putting in the discounts. We want the discounts to show no matter what we put in. If we decide to change it to 15% someday, we don't want to have to go through another story to change that, to change the discount.
Right, that discount's, you're going to have to, so it's going to be conditional on what program they're on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And if they're seeing marketing type information that says, oh, you can get 10%, and they're showing 5%, that's going to create that Karen. That's going to create that Karen effect.
Right.
And then you're gonna have
Okay.
to, you know what I mean? Like, then you're going to have to create that path for what do
So,
you do with those customers?
We do actually want to, now that you mention it, we do actually want to pass in query parameters to show what marketing they got, to show what what discount they should get. That's gonna be another service that we need to do. Look at all this scope creep. Okay, yes.
Related to the converting existing customers again, it seems like the risk is one or the other, depending on which way you do it. If you move everybody right away, you have less technical risk, because then you can just get everybody, but then you have more of the Karen effect. And vice versa, if you let them stay on, then you've got more of a technical risk. But have we considered moving everybody to the new program, however, charging existing members no additional charge through the end of their period, and after that, then they would pay the entire charge?
You know what? We can do that. We can do that. I saw a hand from, okay, go ahead.
So similarly to what Dan said, is that to enable the client or customer to have more control over their decision instead of completely taking over. That way they're aware it's coming up. This is when their old is gonna end. We need now 2 addresses, or you can have up to 2, make sure your address is up to date, like being more involved in that conversion process rather than it being automated or just like a flip of a switch. That way there's also minimal error if you're doing the conversion to I don't know, I have this idea that like if you're trying to switch addresses over to a new UI, that something would be like, numbers would be like other places, or words would be, you know what I mean? But if they have the opportunity to go in there and manually add and update and make sure that everything is correct, then they are more involved in the process.
That's a really good point, and that might reduce our reputational risk. Yes?
I was gonna ask about the current program, are they like on an auto renew every year? Like they'll automatically get billed, or do they have to opt in? And if so, it seems like they might need to sign the new contract for the updated price, like it seems legal, should.
We continue sending marketing, we do not auto renew them.
So people who are in the $40 program will drop off unless they opt in again.
Yes. Okay, I'm running out of time. Excellent, thank you for participating in that. I wasn't sure how that was gonna go. You know what happens in planning and coding and testing. Those questions are what we do all the time. Okay, but this is from Liz Kibler. I love this quote, that having the conversation is more important than documenting the conversation, is more important than automating the conversation. So Liz helped write BDD. She was one of the inventors of BDD. But this is what it comes down to. BDD was initially started to help non-coders automate tests. But it's also about having those conversations. So it's more important to get people out of that anchoring bias and more important to get the conversation started than it is to document the conversation. We document the important things, but we don't have to document the whole conversation. We definitely don't have to automate it. So, final thoughts. If your company is going to be without testers, first of all, try not to, but the questions still need to be asked. We've talked about the questions. I'll send out the slides to anyone who wants. My Twitter handle isn't on this slide. The questions need to be asked, and the work needs to get done. But it's also not magic. We are not magic. We're trained, we're skilled, but a lot of this is just getting the conversation started. More brains are better than one. We fleshed out a lot of things that needed to be discussed. I think, Matt, yesterday you said more eyeballs make bugs shallow.
Many eyeballs makes bugs shallow.
There we go. So the more eyes that we have on things, the easier it is to find bugs. Okay, we have a little bit of time for questions, and there's my Twitter handle, and it's like everything except Instagram. Rachel Joy, you can hit me up on LinkedIn, Twitter, and I'll answer questions. No, I don't have TikTok. At least I did until I realized, like, when. Yeah. So, do you have questions for me? Also, this is not a trick question. It's not a test. Okay. Oh, yes. Sorry, not Matt.
Oh, just not necessarily on this topic, but does your team have a documented definition of done?
No. We don't.
Because I wanted to know what your definition of done was.
So our process, we end up, it needs testing sign off and product owner sign off.
And what about definition of ready?
Discussed and coded. And the product owner, my product owner, and all the product owners that I've worked with at this company have generally deferred to me as to when something is ready for release. Matt, you had a question?
Yeah, well, someone pointed out sort of Karen effect, of this sort of concern that our customers are going to not like the new system and not want to go over it, complain, write about it on social media, generally a problem which could impact sales. What do you do when you think you're doing your job, and what about legal, and someone says, you're QA, just like, stay in your lane, do your job. What's your response?
Yeah, then you say my job is to ask questions and to analyze risk, and that is more than just pushing buttons.
No, you're pushing the PO's buttons, that's what
Yes, you are. You're pushing other people's buttons. Okay, well, thank you so much for attending. Enjoy the rest of the conference. I am going to Matt's talk next about amazing stuff. And yeah, anyway, thanks for coming.